All right, we're talking about inequalities, and this one is, what did the skeleton order with his dinner? Yum. Okay. Obviously, inequalities. So let's talk about one like, probably number, like 6 looks probably pretty scary. So again, our topic is inequalities. We're in Algebra 1, and it's 12, 14, 12. Okay, and the question we're working on today is negative n over 15 minus 4 is greater than or equal to negative 4. What are we trying to do? What are we really trying to do here? When we have a question like this, what are we trying to do? What's our goal? Find find n. Find n and solve the inequality. So here, right, negative n 15ths minus 4 greater than or equal to negative 4. How do we begin? How would we begin this? Come on.
Add 4 to both sides.
Add a positive 4 to both sides. I'm going to just stick a line in here so we can do a me chart. Okay, so I'm going to add 4 because Maya told me to.
Your camera moves.
And what are we doing when we're adding 4? What are we doing with the inequality? What do we call it?
Isolated variable expression.
Exactly. So when we do it, we isolate the variable expression. Excuse me, gentlemen. So we get negative n 15ths is greater than or equal to 0. It's looking less scary, isn't it? What do we need to... Yes?
The camera.
Oh. Oh, we can still see it. We're good. Okay. So what do we need to do next to... Oh, what are we going to do next? What's the next step? What do we want to get?
15 by itself.
So here we wanted to isolate the variable expression. Now we want to
Negative n by itself.
get n by itself.
15.
Okay? So we want to isolate... What are we going to get? When we get n by itself, we're isolating the variable. And how are we going to do that? We're going to multiply both sides by...
15. 15 over n.
But if it was 15, is that the same as... Okay, if... Move it up a little bit. Negative n over 15 is actually the same as what? It's the same as negative 1/15 times n. So what's the multiplicative inverse of negative 1/15? What's the reciprocal?
15.
What is it?
15 over negative 1 n.
Well, or negative 15, right? So if we multiply one side by negative 15, we multiply the other side by negative 15. Did we just multiply or divide by a negative? So what do we have to do?
Flip the sign.
Flip the sign. Good. Don't forget to flip the sign. And why did we do that? Because it was a negative, and so instead of being a negative n, we now went over to the other side of the number line. So now n is no longer greater than or equal to, it's now less than or equal to, oh, it's times 0?
0.
So it's still 0. 0 groups of negative 15, so it's still 0, and that's the step where we solve. So, what questions would you have for yourself? What kind of things do you want to point out? This becomes a study guide. The questions are a study guide. So what do you want to study for yourself? Question here, next to where we talked about negative n over 15 was the same as negative 1/15 n. We could talk right here about how variable in the numerator has a 1 in front of it. We forget that, don't we? We've got to remember that because it makes it easier when it comes time for us to find our multiplicative inverse or our reciprocal. Flip the sign when multiplying or dividing by a negative. Here, stay calm when it's a fraction. Are those reasonable things to think about? Yeah. Now in the summary section, take a second and on this one problem, or take a minute and on this one problem, give yourself an aha moment. Was there something in here that helped you? And you're the only one that can fill this out. I can't do a summary for you. You're the only one that can fill this out. What rang true with you? What went, oh, okay, that helped. That really helped me and will help me on an ongoing basis.